We had these old, you guys have those old rodeo goats that you practice tying on all the time. And I remember sharing a story with Larry about an old goat I had a problem with, and that's when we started to become friends. Because I think there's something special about in South Dakota. If I told that story in Washington, D.C., nobody would know what I was talking about out there. So
they file charges.
That's exactly right. They would file charges. That's true. You know, the question I get from a lot of people is why I'm running for governor. So that's really what I want to talk to you about and just have a casual conversation. If you remember me and my background, I'm a farmer and a rancher from the northeast corner of the state, Hamlin County, and took over our operation after my dad was killed in an accident when I was 21 years old. And then, in fact, Cassidy, my daughter here, she was born about 3 weeks after Dad died. And my mom said, she said, she was born and the next day you put her in my arms and you went out and started pulling calves. So it was a tough time for our family, but it taught me a lot about dealing with tough stuff. And running an operation like that, getting hit with death taxes, and trying to keep the operation going while we had that extra expense was something that really frustrated me. And so I decided at that time we needed more people that were normal business owners in government and showing up for different discussions and ag policy, and so that's when I got involved. When I first ran for Congress in 2010, I remember coming here to Belle Fourche, and I was really clear with folks that I believe in term limits. I believe in citizen legislators, that you should serve, work hard, and then come back home. And so I said at that time that I wasn't going to be in Congress for 10 years. And so during this last election when President Trump was elected, and I knew a lot of the bills that I'd been working on could get signed into law, I knew it was a good opportunity for me to come back home. And we did get a lot of things done. Even though I dealt with 6 years of President Obama, we cut $1 trillion worth of spending. We got a good farm bill done. We had 1,600 regulations that we were able to get rid of just by Republicans in the House being ornery. We were able to get some of the regulations, you know, we were talking about where they wanted to regulate the dust that we had on our family farms and ranches. They wanted our kids to not be able to work on our family farms and ranches. They didn't want them near cows. They didn't want them near machinery. We pushed back on all of that and were able to stop an energy tax as well. So we did do some things, but now with President Trump in place, a lot of the stuff that I was passionate about, we're working on and had the chance to sign into law. Tax reform was something I've worked on for years. And to be one of the last 5 House members to actually work on that bill and get it signed into law, that was a really big deal for our country. I hope all of you are noticing a difference in what your taxes are going to be. I think it's finally about time that Washington, D.C. respects you and your hard work and lets you keep more of your money to reinvest in your family. And now we're working on infrastructure. I was frustrated by the bill that came this week. That was very upsetting to me. I voted against it. But now that I'm coming home and we've had the chance to make a difference in D.C., I started looking at the governor's race and seeing who was running and really what South Dakota needs. And I think South Dakota's a great state. We do a lot of things right. You know, we have a low tax base, low regulations, but you know, we're kind of stuck and we're treading water. In fact, our GDP rate is the lowest growth of any surrounding state around us, which means people's wages aren't going up, our businesses aren't growing, and the status quo just isn't working for us and providing our kids an opportunity to stay here in South Dakota and really thrive and take care of their families. So I'm a big believer that the primaries aren't a lot of fun. I think you all know I'm running in a primary right now, but we also have an opportunity here. You know, you talk about different issues and people that you run against in a primary maybe agree on 60-70% of the same issues. But it's that other 30% that can make all the difference in the world. And we need to reform a lot of programs in our state. We really do. We've got to give families more opportunities to grow and to take care of their children, to grow their businesses. I think we have an opportunity to take our poverty programs, our welfare programs, and tie work requirements back to them. We have to tie those individuals to training them for jobs that we need filled in the state. I'm a big believer that we've got to strengthen families, and that we have a lot of parents that aren't being parents today, and that has led to some of the problems that we have with crime and drugs in South Dakota. And so if we bring some of those godly values back to our programs in South Dakota and strengthen families and are willing to toughen up a lot of our programs to make sure that we're providing opportunities to be trained and fill the jobs that we really need in our state. Our state can set an example for the rest of the nation. DC is broken, and I'm convinced that the way we fix this country is not through DC. I've spent almost 8 years there now, and that place is extremely broken, and I don't know if we can fix this country through that process and through Congress. I'm a believer that we've got to have a few strong governors in this country that reform their states and set the example for the nation on really what we can do when we put some personal responsibility back into our programs, give people opportunities to get an education and trained, and give the family a priority again, which I don't think we've done in the government for a long period of time. Partner with businesses to make sure that we're actually lifting people out of those circumstances instead of giving them more opportunities to not be a part of the solution that we really need. So I would love to have your help. I think that we've got a great opportunity here in South Dakota. We're small, we're rural, and a lot of people usually see that as a challenge. I see that as a big win for us.